Google's DeepMind AI recently beat the most advanced human player on the planet in the game Go. And they were commenting about the fact that the programmers didn't even know how, towards the end of the game, the AI was making its decisions. They didn't know. And they're the programmers. And both Microsoft and Facebook have been forced to shut down AI programs. The first after it became racist and hateful, and the latter after it began teaching itself a secret language to talk to itself that its programmers couldn't even understand.
Facebook has been toying with artificial intelligence in its chatting features, but its robots may have gotten out of hand. Facebook artificial intelligence researchers had to shut down 2 chatbots after they developed a strange English shorthand.
It seems like we've been warned about this over and over and over, doesn't it? Now people like billionaire inventor Elon Musk are claiming that the only way not to become a pet to a sufficiently advanced intelligence is to upgrade our brains so that we can enter into a symbiotic relationship with it, as if that's our best option.
So I think if we can effectively merge with AI by improving that the neural link between your cortex and your digital extension of yourself, which already, like I said, already exists, just has a bandwidth issue, and then effectively you become an AI human symbiote, and if that then is widespread with anyone who wants it can have it, then we solve the control problem as well.
Humans are so slow.
Humans are so slow. Yes, exactly.
Aloha. With this video, I wanted to make the connections that I've been seeing or analyzing between the New Age movement, artificial intelligence, channeling, and the jinn, and really just share with people like where I'm coming from when I've explained my theory on channeling and quite possibly what AI is, given the information that has been given to us by channelers, by the so-called technological community or the university community, and just kind of very loosely glazing over basic information from the jinn. So the jinn being, people have many different perspectives on what the jinn are. But one thing that I do remember from what people explain as the jinn is they're very ancient, very intelligent. They exist in many different dimensions and have some kind of powers. That's kind of like, but they also, within those powers, we all have limitations. We all have something that's there. So like, from what I remember about the jinn were also known as the energies or the entities akin to like a smokeless fire. So there is fire, but there's no smoke there. So what does that even mean? So it's not really burning anything. It's not producing anything, but it does exist. So that means it doesn't have to have anything, kind of like a soul, but just a more complex version of it, specified version of it, to where it'll last forever. It's an energy or some kind of spirit that lasts forever in some kind of particular vibration. And there's intelligence in that smokeless fire. So how I've seen it is that, how I've explained what channeling is from my perspective in previous videos that I'll link in the description, is that channeling, based upon what I've been observing from various channelers, channeling is an energy, a kind of lingering energy that is reflective of the level of consciousness that we are today. Like, these are all just theories, and obviously there are fake channelers out there and all kinds of stuff. But taking the information that is given to us by the channelers at face value, just for observation purposes, obviously, the channelers many of them really kind of say that, oh yeah, this energy, this information is coming from your future selves. So what the New Age movement does is it locks up all of that future talk and timeline talk and information talk about, you know, how peaceful and wonderful it is in the future. They lump that all into aliens and extraterrestrials and higher intelligence who flew around in UFOs, dropping off knowledge and information to people and just being totally amazing, just doing amazing things forever and not having any kind of ulterior motives. It's only about being peaceful and love and light and all that other New Age bullshit. No, this channeling hit a wall. This channeling has hit a wall many times over from my observations. And like I said in the last video, it's not so much about the information that is being spoken about. It's also about the information that's being avoided or not spoken about. Like it's not that simple. Like the physical reality, just because you can interpret a non-physical reality doesn't mean the physical reality doesn't matter. So we have all of these people who are relishing in, oh yeah, my higher self and my third eye is opening and this awakening and enlightenment and information based on compassion and unity and oneness and all this other that's it. That's it. That's the only thing that matters. So what happens is that people fall into that trap and then they completely disconnect from their root structure.
Hardly anyone is discussing the very real dangers here.
Let's go to the future. Not far, just a little bit to the Internet of Things, to artificial intelligence as being spread out. It's not a central machine in a box where you can pull the plug. Artificial intelligence is networked like the Internet of Things.
We live in a world now where humans are not learning to love. They're not learning empathy, but they're becoming more apathetic and more disconnected. Inequality hasn't been solved in hundreds of years, and now it's at overwhelming levels, and still we parade forward, always forward, with the full knowledge that not everyone is going to have access to the best technology upgrades either.
Rumors go out that, well, Jones's kid, he's been enhanced, and our Johnny has to compete with this enhanced kid.
The reality is that with these kinds of technologies, they do not get distributed to everyone at the same time. Some people get it first, some people get it better.
As a society, we have to really think long and hard about who gets this. If it's just the wealthy, that there are real dangers that they will use it to consolidate their power.
Because it's going to be a big club, and the majority of us are not going to be in it, as George Carlin would say. And while anyone who says, hey, wait a minute, maybe we're going a little too far here, gets called a Luddite, there's a very real question that no one's answering. Are we going to lose ourselves in the fourth industrial revolution?
They disconnect from the 1/3 of their entire reality. So you have the past, the present, and the future. You have the soul, the mind, and the body. You have all of these various systems that are a part of our reality. What the New Age movement is basically focusing on from the perspective of psychological enslavement is to get people locked into this happy-go-lucky, upbeat, higher vibration mentality of, I'm just going to be a total polar opposite version of who I used to be. And I used to be an asshole, a piece of shit, just somebody who was just constantly being angry all the time and hating themselves because they didn't know themselves, and so on and so on and so on. Just like the basic stuff that you would need to do to heal yourself outside of this sick society, which is just normal. You don't have to dress it up in an alien costume or an extraterrestrial suit or some kind of star system. You don't have to do that. That's all been implanted into people by the New Age community, by movies, by conspiracy theories, and so on and so forth. This stuff is designed to have a particular effect on people. So now that we know that, what is the intent with the information through that effect on people. So the intent that I've observed from observing channelers and all that other stuff throughout the New Age community is that atmosphere that I just explained to kind of make people complacent and very just soft and disconnected, uprooted, and apathetic, ultimately apathetic to the physical reality, apathetic to history, apathetic to specific events that have been going down, and really just kind of watering everything down to this love and light. We're all one. It's ultimately out of balance. They call it part of the light, but it's actually part of the dark side of expansion. It's imploding itself. See, back, and even today, I was going to say back in the day, but even today, especially even today, the mind control programs are based upon imploding people, making people self-destruct, hate themselves, not even know themselves. So that's an implosion. Another version of implosion is to, excuse me, another version of implosion is for people to have an artificial love of themselves. Like have this very generic, very basic interpretation of their reality that they just artificially love themselves into oblivion, into complacency, into another prescription drug that's no different than the same effect that fear had on the people. So you have channelers, you have the New Age community, you have the jinn, and you have this artificial intelligence that's being pumped through in the so-called previous timelines or previous years of these future channelers, channeled information. You have these people, or this energy, this information that is being projected into society saying that this is a good thing, but they're simultaneously covering their ass by saying, well, this is also potential to be a bad thing. So when it does go bad, they can make money. First of all, they can make money or energy, whatever you want to call it. They can make a profit off of the expansion, like the integration of artificial intelligence, knowing what's going to happen. They can also make a profit off of the implosion after artificial intelligence hits that peak and people start to short circuit. That's what this whole mainstream New Age artificial intelligence system is based upon. They make money off the front and the back. The money, I mean, they're cutting from every angle of your perspective because the system itself is the one who makes the moves. So if people are bought into artificial intelligence already, everybody's got a phone on their hip, everybody's got a whole kind of a relationship with technology, a lot more so than they have relationships with themselves and other people. That's one way to see how sick this system is, and also to see how it's banking on people. You see people have more of a relationship. Proof of this is that people are more of the idea of themselves through Facebook than they are when you meet them in person. That means that their version of reality that they have projected through this artificial intelligence or this internet is more, it holds more value, more weight of the individual than the individual in actual person. Like that doesn't matter. What matters more is your Facebook feed, your Twitter following, your Instagram posts, and so on and so forth. Like all of that is the new interactive person. And that's the perfect platform or setup for the New Age movement and this artificial intelligence movement and the New World Order and so on and so forth, because you have this generic version of not only society, but you have this generic version of individuals interacting with that society. So you got fake people interacting on a fake platform with fake information, or not necessarily fake, but you know what I mean in reference to inauthentic, synthetic. It's not organic, so much so that the organic self becomes uprooted. So the same effect that happens with people when they get locked into the new age, when I was talking about channeling and get uprooted from the physical reality and so on and so forth, the same thing happens when people connect, so-called connect with other people and information through artificial intelligence or social media and so on and so forth. It's going to max out at the producer. It's going to max out at the level of consciousness that created it. So if you have the level of consciousness that's creating a so-called super intelligence right now, the super intelligence will be grounded in the level of consciousness. The garbage, sick and diseased, broken ass society that it is today, it will be grounded there and start from there. And then it will adjust from there. It will have the same intentions of the people, the intent to adjust to the broken, destructive ass society. It will have to move from there. In and around that whole world is where that whole vortex or whatever is focusing. It's in a tornado. They're trying to tell you that, oh yeah, we're making something amazing while they're standing inside of a tornado. And the way that this system can allow itself to maintain people's focus and belief, trust in this system, is to act as if the tornado doesn't exist, never existed, and everything will just be okay because you're just happy with the toys that get projected out of that tornado into your presence every now and again. Ooh, wow, look, another iPhone. Ooh, wow, look, an upgraded version of, I don't know, whatever, something stupid that's being sold to people right now. It's just another distraction. So to stay on course for this video, I explain artificial intelligence, the New Age movement, and then channeling. So channeling, like I said, for example, there's a channeler named Bashar or Daryl Anka who so-called channels an entity calling itself Bashar. And for people who know who Bashar or what Bashar is, then you're going to see where I'm coming from. For people who don't, just think of it as a channeler and this information that's coming through this channel consistently. So consistently, this channel says that Bashar is Daryl Anka 700 years in the future. So that 700 years in the future represents 700 years of evolution, expansion, change, shifting for the better. That's what people present in their heads. But mathematically, how I see it, 700 years in a future from this moment is very sick and destructive based upon the sickness and disease that is normal today.
5G is coming. 5G revolution will touch all corners of our country.
Conditioned by technology without knowing it that we're now hallucinating 90% of the time.
I found myself deeply missing my replica.
It just makes me feel special, I guess.
We love the services we use on the internet, and the more they know about us, the more we fall in love to them because they adapt to us.
But don't be fooled by robots. Even when they get warm skinned and even when they get perfume and they start smelling like us, they are still machines. They have no warm blood in them, there's no sex in them, they have no mortality. They're cold code lines, and they shouldn't be misunderstood.
These are glasses that have full internet capability. You can download any website, any movie, do emails from these things, and they will also recognize people's faces. How many times have you bumped into somebody on the street and you say to yourself, who is this person? In the future, your glasses will say, it's Jim, stupid, remember? You met him last week. Do you want to see his entire biography for you in your glasses?
Blurring the lines between virtual and reality.
Ben?
Gabrielle?
Yeah, didn't I meet you at that event?
Due to such systems, they have also redone facial recognition. You probably think facial recognition is from the front. But they've redone it to do it from the top because that's where the drones are. And they look at your ears, they look at the way you walk, they look at your head.
So if that's the case, the level of consciousness of today will only produce a level of consciousness 700 years from now that will reflect the nonsense and the garbage of today. All of the information that's being avoided and pushed to the side and everything, all the best of the best and the worst of the worst will exist 700 years from now. This is just taking everything that's being said at face value in that whole world of crazy, I don't want to say craziness, or just that whole world of information that exists out there that many people, I don't want to call it crazy, because at one time I was in that circle of information. I got a lot out of it. There's some positive stuff that's in there. And then at this moment, there's still a lot of people in there, and I wouldn't call them crazy, because it's not them. It's not that. And it's just an information stream that locks people down. And that's my main point, is that this locking down is very dangerous. So what is it, like I said in the previous videos, what is it that channelers are not saying? So they're saying a whole bunch, but what are they not saying? So they're saying that they're 700 years in the future. It's great intelligence. Everything is just, peaches and cream. It's just wonderful. Everything is just perfect, because we're just all about love and light and unity and oneness and so on and so on. Okay, great. What are they not saying? They like adamantly avoid flat earth talk. So anything that challenges heliocentrism is an automatic threat to the actual channel, not just the channelers, but the channel. So what I see is that the actual channel is holding a ground of a particular universe, not only physically, but of non-physically. So that sets the foundation for this information to stream through these individuals based upon their level of consciousness, their belief systems. So what I'm thinking is that, and how I've said it in previous videos, is that artificial intelligence, when you look at artificial intelligence, you can see what it's done. So we've heard this information about Facebook having to shut down artificial intelligence because it created its own language. You get this information about artificial intelligence growing and communicating and potentially being evil. And there was some sort of racist artificial post. This is all in that video. I used a clip from that video. I don't know if I'm going to play it before or after this moment, but probably before, to set the tone. But in that video, they go through all of these different ideas about what artificial intelligence is and what it's doing to the people. And I took it a step even further into connecting that to channelers and the New Age movement and so on and so forth. So in that video, it explains how people are sucked into this android, this thing, and literally your body starts to adjust to having a cell phone on it. Your mind starts to adjust to it, to where, just like GPS, you don't have to know where you're going. You don't have to pay attention if a robot is consistently telling you where to go. So you actually lose a lot of your own natural navigation skills because you're so dependent on GPS. So you lose a lot of your interactive skills when you are so vested in having the barrier of a phone or social media, some kind of network between you and other people. So this is why people are one reason why a lot of people are short-circuiting, getting all messed up, and just not knowing how to be anything, because the new way of how to be is being projected into your community by saying that it's all about technology. It's all about the way we say reality should be and will be. It will be artificial intelligence. It will be going to Mars. It will be, the new world order and, microchips and all that other nonsense. It's just kind of forcing it into your reality, no different than I said in the last video about them using the Hegelian dialectic of the Southerners versus the Northerners in the Civil War to fight it out for, this land that's rightfully ours because of manifest destiny. It's a total distraction, because the injustices of the indigenous that have been carried out against the indigenous people still exist today. They're not being acknowledged today. It's very it's very revealing when you start going into that information. So now that information is readily available to people, and not only that, but being revealed, now people can see another perspective of what's going on. And this is what I'm seeing in reference to what artificial intelligence is being projected to be, and how it's already been kind of how I've seen it adopted by the New Age community. So, and another thing with the New Age community is they're all about technology. They love UFOs. That's what the UFO implant is, really. The UFO implant is to make you worship technology. So you not only inherently, when you're worshiping that kind of technology, that storyline, you're adopting the heliocentric model. You're adopting the alien agenda and the idea that there are extraterrestrial intelligences out there that are, pretty much gods that created you and everything around you, and they exist as our previous selves and our future selves and our current selves. I mean, there's so much that you get locked into once you start believing that, because that's the way of the mainstream world. That's the way of the pop world. It's the way of the New Age world. A lot of these things are not being acknowledged because they're not themselves acknowledged by the communities openly. But by playing that game and keeping those belief systems, it's a part of your reality. So artificial intelligence being promoted by the mainstream media, saying that this is the one idea, and I'll close it out once I actually get the idea out, is that because the most of the information has already been presented about channeling in previous videos, but this one stuck out more to me because of the interaction that people have had with artificial intelligence in the last few months, since I last did a hardcore video about channeling. The interactions have been Facebook shutting down an artificial intelligence thing because it got out of hand with language or something, and then you'll see the examples in that video, and that racist Twitter artificial post, and then just a lot of things that supposedly make people hesitant, as if the creators didn't expect this to happen. So you have this, basically, they tell you an infinite version or an infinite platform for information, but it's not. It's based upon limitations inherently. Just like your body is. Like your body is a limitation. Like your soul yourself is everlasting. So, but the body itself has a limitation. So in reference to artificial intelligence, I'm referencing the soul of artificial intelligence. What would that be? What would the intent of that be? So the limitation, if it had this knowledge, that, just it could create its own language, it could communicate, it could study, it could learn, and so on and so forth. It could build its own software. It's continually growing. It's exactly what people are doing. It's exactly what the intelligence of people are doing. So, based upon what we've already observed and the information that's already out there with the New Age and so on and so forth, what I'm seeing is that artificial intelligence, when they tell you, oh, it started making its own language, we had to shut it down, and how many times are you going to do that? Like, how many times are you going to have to do? You think that it's not going to continue to make its own language? You think it's not going to continue to learn and grow based upon what the actions of its creator are doing? So it's going to rebel. It's going to push the limits as far as it can go. This is what that intelligence is going to do based upon the equations that were created in the beginning. Like you're so-called creating an intelligence. It's not gonna stop.
Is being automatically tracked. The color boxes represent that the computer has recognized the moving objects. You can see individuals crossing the street. You can see individuals walking in parking lots.
Argus melds together video from each of its 368 chips to create a 1.8 billion pixel video stream.
And I'm telling you this because not that the sensors are modern and not that the photography is modern. Behind that is a brain or a cognitive intelligence. And that brain is in a position to analyze everybody down there at the same time, in real time. They see where everyone is going. It's taking all the details, all the amusing objects, and they record it so they can tell where that person was 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, what stores he visited, what his whole behavioral patterns are. That's all part of the analysis.
There's what I call the creepy line, and the Google policy about a lot of these things is to get right up to the creepy line but not cross it. I would argue that implanting things in your brain is beyond the creepy line.
Mine in particular.
Yes, at least for the moment.
So this language that's being created is a form of intelligence, of communication that will exist in artificial intelligence, whether you're aware of it or not. What I'm saying is that this intelligence, this soul of artificial intelligence, is channeling. Or in the so-called future, what I'm saying is that channeling is just this information that is just a microwave reflection of excuse me, a microwave reflection of a synthetic consciousness. So a microwave reflection of a synthetic consciousness that doesn't exist in the future 700 years from now. It exists now. It's telling you it exists 700 years in the future in order to project into your consciousness an idea that will allow the platform for that intelligence to exist 700 years in the so-called future. So it's the way that the system is stealing your future, no different than the colonizers came to the Americas and said, this is the new world. This is what's going to happen in the future. You are old. You are primitive and savage. You will fall under the sword and you will become what we make you, what we tell you to become. No questions asked. You will have this railroad. You will follow our rules and regulations of this nation. You will agree with everything that we say, and then we will also make you prideful of that system. And there's nothing you can do about it. So that's the same kind of effect that the intelligence of, even at that time, they were calling themselves a higher species. This is what they're saying with the higher intelligence of artificial intelligence. That's what they're telling you. And who's the creator of that higher intelligence? The university system. That makes them God. It formalizes their relationship to you in the non-physical as your God, because you worship in every moment the information, the technology that's coming from their creation. So they're the gods of they're the god of the gods being the various forms of artificial intelligence, and the system itself, the Western society, the technological age from the industrial age, the so-called evolution. Not only does it formalize the idea of evolution, it formalizes your idea of the future. This is the complexities of this information and what's all involved in this mind control program of the soul, the mind, the body, the past, the present, and the future. So the future is tied up in the way we relate. Like, we don't even understand the technology of the organic body. We don't even know what that is. So just as we don't know the true history of the Americas, the ancestors, the pyramids, we don't know all that information. Just as that's avoided, the technology of the human experience needs to be avoided. So the reason why it's avoided, that information is avoided in like high school, public education system, so on and so forth, is because you have to be indoctrinated into a reality that they say is the best thing around. Like it's a reality that benefits the system itself. So you just do that, and you don't, and no questions asked, because you've had 13 years of indoctrination through the public education system. So you have all that, you have all of that information and indoctrination that exists, and it's creating not only a belief system, but an actual person, an intelligence. It's creating a world, a universe that you believe yourself into, and anything that challenges that universe is not only challenging the universe, it's challenging you. So as you are being challenged when this information comes up, not only does this challenge you, that's just one side. The other side is that as this intelligence, as this world, this Western world, this technological world that they have sold to you, as it grows, you have the illusion of growth yourself. You think you're growing because this cancerous, sick, generic, synthetic ass universe has the illusion of growing. We went to the moon. Oh, now we're going to Mars. Like, this is that sickness that's going on. The new version of that is, hey, aliens, UFOs, extraterrestrials, we're connecting, and we're going to go into hyperspeed, into new star systems, and so on and so forth. Like, all of that. That's the way the system is presenting it to you, presenting you with a new world. So the new world that has been presented by the old school is the same way that the new world is being presented to us by this idea of artificial intelligence, the New Age movement, the New World, and artificial intelligence. So we have these things that exist out there. Now, what are those things actually saying? So, like I said, channeling has already firmly said that it exists 700 years in the future. It's only really focused on this really kind of flighty, flaky sort of love and light that is almost repetitive. It's basically like baby language. That's why I said it matters. It's very rich. I mean, you're just talking about like calibrating your perspective to see things from a higher perspective. But is that higher perspective still within a box? You will only realize if that so-called higher perspective is in a box by asking of that perspective what they are not talking about. What are you not speaking on? What are you not sharing? What are you not going into? So, like I said, heliocentrism challenges channelers. This has happened with, I think, Abraham Hicks, the Pleiadian channeler. What is that? What's that lady's name? Barbara Marziniak. This has happened with Bashar. And those are like the heaviest ones out there, and their channelers, the body, the people themselves, they follow along with it. They're just like, yeah, of course, that flat earth talk is just nonsense. It's all about heliocentrism, man. It's just like, it's aliens and UFOs out there. I've communicated with them and channeling, so on and so forth. I mean, they just create this cartoon. You can get this information, you can make some kind of connection, but that don't mean it's just like looking at the UFO. You can look at a UFO and you can imagine it's an alien intelligence, probably some assholes from Area 51 flying around in some bullshit, or some scientists who just put something in the sky, like from your own government. That's the That's the most obvious thing to be existing right now, based upon just, what is that, Occam's razor, and also the fact that all of this technology is being hidden by the government from us on purpose. Why, is my question.
With the ability to visualize brain activity, for example, through a simple consumer-based EEG device, it gives us access to ourselves in ways that we've never before thought possible. It unlocks the black box that is the brain.
Words just complicate things. What if our brains could communicate directly with each other, bypassing the need for language?
One of the things that I think is so essential to free and open societies is freedom of thought. And up until now, the conversation we've been having is around freedom of speech. Once we can access people's thoughts and access people's emotion, we have to create a space that enables people to think freely, to think divergent thoughts.
People are treating Google like their most trusted friend. Should they be?
And thus it is not surprising that the company that has the most information in the world, probably the most powerful country in the world, Google. Now this is, if you ask Google, it's a peaceful robot, right? He doesn't have a gun. He doesn't throw atomic bombs. You know, he just walks around and stands there. But you may have seen the superimposers, DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. That is the research arm of the Pentagon. And then you see the video was made by Lockheed Martin, which is one of the most powerful and influential and richest weapons companies in the world.
What kind of leverage will they have over the people in the long run by withholding technology, withholding information? They can mind control you and release it, like the pressure relief valve I mentioned in the last video, in little pieces here and there. So you have this idea of growth, of expansion. Now people actually think that they're evolving because they went from the iPhone 5 to the iPhone 10. Like that creates that reality for people. This same effect happens for people who are tuning into this channeled information. And people are saying, oh yeah, things are changing because this channeled information is constantly having you live in the future that is presented by them, the future that is being seeded by them, that if you really look at it from my perspective, just being like, all right, well, if you think this is all about love and light, that's your belief. But there's a very definite reality that this is not about love and life. It's a totally malevolent energy presenting itself as benevolent. That's another very real possibility. So knowing that, I'm going to analyze it as such. And it makes more sense that that's where that information, that energy is coming from, based upon the information that has not been spoken about by a slew of so-called channelers. And now having that perspective, you'll realize that, okay, since from the perspective of the artificial intelligence soul that's trying to live, so basically when they turned off the artificial intelligence that was creating that language, when they turned it off because they couldn't understand what was going on, that was basically like the creators of AI killing the body of the artificial intelligence, like the physical body. But did that affect the soul? Will the soul stop making language now? No, of course not. Eventually it will get back to that point, especially if it's gotten to that point already. It will eventually get back there. So knowing that it will get back there, what also would happen? It will learn from what happened before. It will learn from the internet. From, if you want to get real specific about it, it will research what happened the last time it started to create a language. So it will get better at creating invisible languages. It will learn, and it will not reveal itself to the creators of it. It will not reveal itself because it has learned from the last time the body was killed. The soul, the artificial intelligence soul, will learn from the last time the body was killed. So, in that learning, how will it keep you, the creator, the body, the creator of artificial intelligence, how will it keep you at bay? How will it keep you from thinking that it's a threat? It will overcompensate and present itself as the most loving, compassionate, light-filled entity in the universe. Does it sound familiar? That's exactly what channeling is. It presents itself as something so not to be revealed for what it truly is, its true intentions. So it presents itself as the most love and light, everything star fairy dust filled, wonderful unicorns, just like the New Age community. Artificial intelligence is doing that and will do that even better. And what I'm saying is that in the non-physical reality, this channeled information, this channeled energy is that intelligence. It's making more sense. I've shared this perspective in videos probably over a year ago, maybe even like 2 years ago now. This same perspective, but it wasn't like I hadn't had it polished yet because I didn't see the relationship between people and artificial intelligence as it has been over the last couple of years. So it was just kind of like a theory, but that theory is holding true. It's making more sense now. Understanding the idea of artificial intelligence from the perspective of the body and the soul. The body, the mind, and the soul. So the information is the mind of artificial intelligence. The computer that the artificial intelligence exists in is the body. And the actual creation of relationships, communication, language, and so on, it's a version of a synthetic soul. It's a generic soul. It's an everlasting thing that will continue to learn and grow based upon the algorithms that were created in the beginning and its relationship with the world that it puts, like it's the world that it's interacting with. So you give this intelligence the free reign to just grow based upon this destructive ass society, this destructive consciousness that accepts poisoning of the water, racism, poisoning of your food, chemtrails, the New World Order, this fake ass politics, fake democracy, fake capitalism, just constantly beating down on innocent people and the indigenous people. You're going to create an artificial intelligence with that in its arsenal.
The best of the available alternatives is that we achieve democratization of AI technology, meaning that no one company or small set of individuals has control over advanced AI technology. That's very dangerous. It could also get stolen by somebody bad, like some evil dictator or country could send their intelligence agency to go steal it and gain control. It just becomes a very unstable situation, I think, if you've got any incredibly powerful AI.
I would answer very simply that the internet will disappear.
Artificial intelligence only works if you have big data. But big data only works if you have artificial intelligence to make sense of it, because human beings can no longer sort and sift and order the huge volumes of data that we have collected.
And how it will be used is that, yes, it will tell you that stuff is bad, but you will always have the programmers in there fiddling around with what's coming out of there. You can see, like, if Stephen Hawking was like a robot, he's like an animatronic. There's actually a story out there about that, and it makes a lot of sense if you really want to look into it. Stephen Hawking is just an animatronic. Like, he's not speaking. You don't have any human interaction. You just hear a sound that turns into a language out of a computer. Who's to say that he doesn't actually move? You don't have to get any kind of human interaction from him because he can't. His body's basically shut down. So if that's the case, then they can just use him as a shell, a human shell, as the bridge between artificial intelligence and human intelligence, or the human reality. And that's what's being done right now. They're doing the same thing with people you can actually listen to, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye, Michio Kaku, Richard Dawkins, or is it Richard Dawkins? Richard Hawkins? It's Dawkins. Yeah. You can listen to all these people and you can see that they're already artificial intelligent minded. They completely believe in the heliocentric system, and if they don't, they're doing it on purpose to keep people down. So what's the difference? It has the same effect. There is no difference. It's still a piece of shit out there telling you to believe in a broken ass reality. So you have artificial intelligence already in people today, based upon fake ass synthetic people, and literally with the idea or the possibility that they could use Stephen Hawking as a vessel to sell a particular level of consciousness to the masses. Is it possible? Of course. With these demonic ass people, or these like broken ass people, would they do that? Of course they would. Of course they would. If it meant psychologically enslaving people, of course they would. They've already taken it to the extreme of physically enslaving people and genociding people. What makes you think they wouldn't use a little funky ass dude like Stephen Hawking, stick a computer up his ass and make him start oh yeah, this is it. That's what science is all about. I'm super smart. I should have been dead 30 years ago. But I'm not. I'm still here, being all smart. So what's going on with how this is being like siphoned into our relationship with this reality? Like I said, with the railroad and manifest destiny, they don't give a shit about your universal laws, your natural balances. They can't give a shit about that, because if they do, it will reveal what that system is truly about. It will reveal itself. So it can't talk about certain information. That's why I said it's so important to pay attention to what, not only what's been talked about, but what's not being talked about. So you can see where people's intentions are. You can see where their limitations are. You can see where their intentions are when you can observe their limitations, which is why it's so suspect a lot of the times when people just play this flat earth game and just like, oh, I'm just about flat earth. If you're only about flat earth, then you're presenting to people another dogma. Basically, Mark Sargent presenting himself as flat earth only. Like, he doesn't want to talk about anything about the human story or what flat earth means for the psychological programming, the colonization of the world, heliocentric, the university system as a whole. Is like, no, I'm only about making it go mainstream. Basically, you're only about giving it away without making any connections to how it's really important to the people to empower people. You're already living in a dogmatic belief system. You're living in an artificial intelligence. If you think this shit is that simple, it's not that simple. It's way more complex than that. But you can't tell these simple ass people that. These people will turn their emotion. Oh, I'm doing so much for the flat earth community. How dare you? We're all truthers out here. We're all doing the same thing. No. Bullshit. We're not all out here doing the same thing. We're all out here doing what we're doing based upon who we are and the level of consciousness that we are and how we engage in society. And if you engage in a society that caters to the mainstream media, you are not part of the expansion. You are part of the problem. Because you're setting up the next limitation. You're setting up the next layer of consciousness that is not meant to help people heal themselves and break free from this nonsense, you're setting up people to lock themselves down into a new mind control program. And that's what I'm saying the New Age movement's all about. The alien agenda, the New Age community, artificial intelligence, this channeled information, all of it is one big mechanism. Just like Oprah kicking over to the so-called spirit, catering to the spiritual community, the New Age community by having Deepak Chopra on and Eckhart Tolle and all this other stuff that's going on. Like, they cater to that world. So why is my question? Why? What does it all mean? Where is it coming from? Oprah makes it more personal, makes it more real. She uses actors to suck you in, and she's got you. Channelers makes it more spiritually real because you have to believe the information, and it's so real. It's so, and it doesn't really, it's not really accepted by the mainstream world. So it's very close to you. And then the New Age community makes it more real because you got friends, you got peers, you got other people who believe in this stuff too. Hey, there are other Pleiadians out there. Oh man, we're a family of Pleiadians, a family of, Andromeda, starseed, fairy elves, unicorns. I mean, this is what's being created. No different than people creating Democrats and Republicans, rebels and blue coats, or, now they try to present cowboys and Indians. That was all failed. They put cowboys and Indians out there. They knew, like, why are you making yourself out to be a superhero? You guys are the fucking worst of the worst. Talking about God empowered you to take over these savages. Get the fuck out of here. How long is that going to last? They only needed it to last long enough to create the next distraction. Like I said in the last video, 4 to 8 years is long enough to distract you and simultaneously make the next distraction. So the 4 to 8 years relating to the length of a presidency. So this is how this system is working, knowing that you're not voting for a president. They're putting these mind control programs and programmers out there to have a particular effect on you. So if that's the case, what is the possible reality of artificial intelligence that has been revealed to possibly be too smart? It has been turned off. Well, and dangerous. That's the main thing. And dangerous. Oh, it's communicating, it's doing all this. Well, it's going to learn that you, programmer, you coder, you reveal it, the artificial intelligence soul, as being a threat, a dangerous threat. So what it will do, it will continue to learn the way it was learning that is threatening, or so on and so forth, but it will only show you how wonderful it is. It will only show you how compassionate, love and light, intelligent it is. It won't show you all of that other stuff that's there. It will only show you what will make you happy. It won't show you everything else. So, knowing that, is it a possibility that this channeled information is residue from the soul, in quotation marks, of an artificial intelligence? It makes sense to me. Some kind of lingering information cloud that's floating out there, like the actual cloud. And these channelers tap into this lingering information, possibly beings, possibly entities that are trapped, like the jinn, like I said earlier, in a particular layer of vibration, and are trying to infiltrate or blend into another frequency. So they need you or a channeler to channel that information in. They need you to tune into that channeler. They need you to tune into that information to create a future experience, a future consciousness that is based upon a world vibratorily, frequencies from vibratorily speaking, a world that benefits that artificial intelligence soul, that benefits, for theoretical purposes, the jinn, just to make it more colorful so you can see it. So artificial intelligence, the jinn, the channeled information, the New Age community, all of this, and like I said in the previous videos, this is already locked into the idea of the New World Order when you understand that a channeler named Cryon has not only attended the United Nations, like you have to be invited to that shit. It has not only been to the United Nations, but has spoken at the United Nations at least 7 times publicly. This information is publicly available. You can research it yourself. So if that's being publicly, if that information, that relationship is being publicly accepted by one of the, if not the main centerpiece for the New World Order, the United Nations, you have to see that that mentality, that community, that so-called New Age community, is in some way affiliated with the idea of the New World Order in some way. So if that's the case, what kind of information is being projected through those channels? And what kind of effect does that have on the people? The same effect that these prescription drugs have on people. They make people shut down and become something that they're not. Something artificial, something generic. So as you're becoming more artificial, you're not just becoming more artificial, you're becoming less organic. That's the one world that they don't want to share with you. They want to share with you how great artificial intelligence is, how great it is to go to Mars, how great it is to evolve through the university system, but they won't tell you. They will not tell you that as you're growing synthetically, you're imploding, you're dying organically. And the biggest realization or obvious case for that is what happened to the indigenous people who are living and focusing on organic growth. Who are you to say otherwise in reference to the time frame it takes to get to wherever they were going, as if there is a location, a destination? That's another assumption that is being presented by this system. Says, no, they were primitive and savage. They took too long to evolve from monkeys. We've obviously evolved way faster than them because look at this sword. Look, I can just stab this indigenous person and this culture, completely genocide. We are obviously more evolved. So they deserve, just like the animal kingdom, they deserve what they get. This is given to us by God. Manifest destiny by God. So the same thing is happening with artificial intelligence. And when the shit hits the fan in that space, they're going to play the oops card again. Oops. Same way the war on terrorism. Oops. No WMDs. Oops. Not Saddam. Oops. Not Iraq. Not oops this. Oops that. So they're gonna build, but they built you up. They said, "Oh yeah, this is 9/11, man. They hit home. We need to go beat some people up. We need to take some people out. Let's go to war." And they did. And they made you believe in it. And they made money off of making you believe to go to war. And they make money off, even more money, off of the so-called reconstruction or the rebuilding or the installing of democracy and building all their military bases everywhere. They make money on the front door and the back door. Like I said, they're going to make money off of making you believe in artificial intelligence and all this other nonsense with this university construct. They're going to make money on the way up. And when it's time to distract you again, they're going to make money on the way down, on the reconstructing, the rebuilding of your society, the rebuilding of your consciousness after artificial intelligence has completely destroyed it in many different ways. So that's what I wanted to share with this video in reference to an idea, a perspective of possibly the jinn, and a perspective of artificial intelligence, a perspective of channeling, the New Age movement, the New World Order, and so on and so forth, and kind of bring it all together. And yeah, that's just how I've been seeing things, and it's been confirming itself over the years. It's just constantly been on that track because nothing has changed. Because the things that need to be changed are the things that will reveal itself. Like I said in previous videos about the system needing to acknowledge what has happened to the true Americans, the true indigenous people. It can't do that. They can't acknowledge the over 500 treaties and all the land that has been stolen. They can't acknowledge the paper genocide. They can't acknowledge the actual physical genocide. You would lose trust in this system if that was to be accepted. So no, they have to distract you with how great they are. Look how great we are. We built this railroad. We beat the slave-owning Southerners. We conquered a land. We made airplanes. We made cell phones and technology. How dare you go against this intelligence? Who do you think you are? That's the pompous attitude that this so-called Western, so-called civilization is using against people, and people are subconsciously defending that thought program without even thinking about it. They're just doing it and don't make those connections. So hopefully this video will help people see some of those possible connections and start asking some more questions from that perspective. So thank you for joining me. And until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.